Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Small Attainable Goals. I'm Sean, and I've been feeling off lately. And I couldn't pinpoint it really for a while, but the past week or two, I've just been feeling off and had no idea why until today. Um, and then I realized that I just basically I felt like I haven't really accomplished anything and I haven't been doing all that I can. And that usually happens around fall. Usually I get happy around fall, but lately it's been super hot. I mean, it shouldn't be 80 degrees in October, but it has been. And I've been really busy with my regular work, which is good. Don't get me wrong. But I haven't been able to focus on this a lot, which I, I I don't know. I feel like it's important, even though I know that not a lot of people are watching it. But I just want to help at least one person. I feel like that'd be pretty cool. But as I'm rambling, today I realized what I was feeling, and that was hopelessness, which is bad. But at the same time, when I realized that, I was kind of happy. I know that sounds weird. Not in like a masochistic kind of way, like, oh yeah, no, I like being hopeless. I don't. But I was kind of happy because for the longest time, like over a decade, I felt hopelessness every day, every second of every day. I did not want to go on. I didn't want to do anything. I just was existing, which is not a good way to live. I was just kind of trying to run out the clock. And over the past year, I, after the right medications and, going to therapy, I had been doing better and I have been doing better. And that was why I was kind of happy when I realized that I was hopeless right now, because I had forgotten what that felt like, kind of. I mean, obviously I didn't forget it, but I was a little confused, like why I was feeling so off and down lately. And that was pretty cool to forget about that. That means that in a year's time, I felt hope. I was doing better and I am doing better. And the best part of it is I know how to deal with this. So, step one, realizing that you are starting to get depressed and feeling depressed and hopeless. Check. Did that. Step two, making an appointment with my therapist or psychiatrist. And considering the fact that it is the weekend and I always make all these big major life decisions on Friday nights and these realizations, and everything's closed on the weekend unless it's an emergency, which it's not, thankfully. No one's open, so I have to wait until Monday. So postpone step two. And step three is binge watch a safety show. And for anyone who doesn't know, a safety show is just a show that you love so much and you can put it on in the background and know exactly what's going on because you've seen it so many times. There's no surprises in it. And just all around, you just feel safe watching it. Hence the safety show term. And this weekend, it was Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I guess that's the technical term. But as I'm watching it and rewatching all my favorite episodes, I realized that there are a lot of mental health things shown in the episode. Not the episode, in all the episodes. So I figured I'd talk about them because it's surprising how well they are portrayed. But I mean, obviously, they're not taken care of in the correct way by any means. But they are portrayed well, which is surprising. So let me just get this out of the way first. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if you don't know what it is, it's about five horrible people, like cartoonishly horrible, who have the ability to do whatever they want and have zero consequences for it. But they also basically live in their own hell because they're stuck with each other and Like, sure, there's no consequences to their actions, but there's also no happiness for them. There are a lot of mental illnesses depicted in the show, and they do a good job depicting them, the ones that I have anyway. And it is surprising to see because, there's shows where they have so-called experts and then those end up looking like shit. So the ones that I have and have seen in the show depicted are Dee Reynolds has major depressive disorder, and Charlie and his mom both have obsessive compulsive disorder. Mostly Charlie's mom, but Charlie ends up having it to a certain degree. He's not as bad as his mom, though. Now, I wanted to talk about the depictions of those. I do want to state beforehand that they do not treat them well at all. They do not do a good job in that. But the portrayal of the disorders in the show is pretty good. For instance, Dee hits a major depressive spell and she just flat out gives up and she starts using self-deprecating humor. She starts just not caring about anything. She doesn't shower. She doesn't really sleep. She doesn't eat anything remotely healthy. There's one scene where she's literally just eating a cake. Like she got a sheet cake and was just eating the sheet cake. And the second that they try to make fun of her, they realize, oh, it's not fun anymore because she doesn't defend herself, which is a huge thing that happens with depression. You're too tired. You're too tired to like fight back. Metaphorically, you're just too tired to argue. You want to say, oh, you're ugly. Then your brain's just like, oh, no, you're right. And then people want the response where they're like, oh, yeah, they want you to argue with them. But you don't want to because you're depressed and you're just like, you're absolutely right. And one of the main plot things on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is making fun of Dee, which is funny because Caitlin Olsen, who is the star, is married to Rob McElhenney. And, they make fun of each other all the time on the show. And they call Dee ugly, even though Caitlin Olsen is absolutely gorgeous. So obviously it's in jest and she's part of the joke. And I think that she actually writes a lot of them. But I'm rambling now. So the way that they dealt with Dee's depression was horrible. They tricked her into thinking that she was a superstar on the come up and she was on Conan O'Brien. And then turns out that it was all a ruse and they just tricked her. Now that pissed her off and kind of snapped her out of her depression, which is possible theoretically. You can kind of snap out of your depression if something like horrible happens. I know that I was super depressed and then my dad died and then I couldn't be depressed for a couple weeks because I just couldn't focus on anything else. And, it sucked, but I was like, oh, well, I got to take care of everybody and I got to try to be strong for everybody. And then, depression's over for that short amount of time. And then it just comes back horribly, horribly more powerful and stronger than ever. Basically like a horrible weed or Jared Leto. That was mean. I'm sorry, Jared. Although you sent rats to everybody during your Joker performance and used condoms. So not cool either. But the depiction of the depression beforehand was really accurate, and they did a good job at that. I would not be shocked if at least one of the writers had really bad depression, or at least knew somebody who had really bad depression. More, I would think if they're a comedy writer, they probably have suffered from depression, which is horrible to say, but also very, very accurate. Like some of the funniest people that are out there have suffered from depression. I mean, look at Robin Williams. He was absolutely like a godsend, but he was still super depressed. Yeah, that's sad. R.I.P. Robin. Now on to the OCD portrayal of it, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. And it sucks a lot. It is debilitating and horrible. And it's usually used comically in shows where they're like, oh, he's got OCD, so everything's got to be neat. And oh, he's got OCD, so every time someone coughs, he's got to cough, which was actually in Modern Family. Uh, there was like an episode where the lady was like, oh, I have OCD, so please don't cough or sneeze around me because then I have to cough 3 times, which is not true. That's not a lot of people do that. A lot of people with OCD will leave the room if you sneeze because they, are obsessed with germs, myself included. The second someone coughs around me, I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta leave. So that's why I still wear my mask a lot of the time, especially in Walmarts, because people will just straight up sneeze on you in a Walmart and won't care. Charlie's mom has OCD in the show, and there is one episode in particular where they show they put hidden cameras in their house of Charlie's mom and Mac's mom to make a TV show, basically, just for their own enjoyment. And it's a fun story. Obviously don't put secret cameras in people's houses, but for the purpose of the show, horrible people doing horrible things with no consequences, it's a funny episode. But in the episode, there's depictions of Charlie's mom suffering with OCD. Her son will leave and then she'll have to flip the lights on 3 times and then pray because she's worried that her son will die if she doesn't do this. Or she has to do a specific task in a specific way to ensure that her son won't have anything bad happen to him. That is the mindset of a lot of OCD people. And they did a great job showing how frustrating it can be and just how debilitating it can be when you have those rituals and things that you have to do, or else, you freak out and you feel anxiety. Now, she also suffers from horrible anxiety where she's afraid of everything. And that kind of goes hand in hand with OCD sometimes. Your OCD boosts your anxiety, and your anxiety boosts your OCD because you want to have something it can be in control with. Now, they did a good job portraying that. They don't address any, actions to take care of it or any therapies that should be done, which is fine. Again, comedy show, but the depiction of it was pretty good and pretty spot on. There's also an episode where Charlie has OCD a little bit because he sees his mom do it, and it's like an inherited behavior. And then he starts doing things in threes like his mom does. And for some reason, I don't know why it's threes a lot. I know that for me, it's threes. I'll try to turn out light switches 3 times and stuff. 3 is a weird number. I digress. But then Charlie starts doing the things in threes. And then Mac does it too, just because he's like, why the hell are you doing that? That's weird. And they both realize like, oh, this is kind of comforting. It is comforting to have a routine. So that's how it starts. Like, obviously it's not debilitating for them and they can still go on about their lives. But for people with OCD, it is comforting, but it is also debilitating. The other things that I've seen portrayed in the show are Mac's body dysmorphia, which I have read is very accurately portrayed. He wants to be bigger and stronger. And even when he gets, super fit and ripped, he's still not happy. So there is that. They also show a lot of Mac's childhood trauma and that of Charlie too. Now, those are just played up as laughs, but they do show that they definitely affect adults. I mean, it's a comedy, so you can't really expect them to do a good job with that. But a lot of Mac's religious upbringing affected how he stayed in the closet for so many years because, he didn't like gay people because God hated them in his mind, and that's what he was taught. And then finally, I think it's around like season 10, he comes to the realization that, if God made everything, then God made him that way. And God does love him, which is nice. It is a very nice episode where Mac comes to terms with his sexuality and accepts himself. I feel like it's a little too heavy for this video, but I'm going to leave it in there. Then there's Dennis. Dennis is just amalgamation of every single serial killer in a movie and TV show ever. He's portrayed as a monster, but comically. I'm sure that there's probably a team of psychiatrists and therapists out there that could break down Dennis throughout the entire series, and it would probably be an amazing documentary or something, and I would love it. Thank you for watching Small Obtainable Goals. I'm Sean, and if you like what you watch, maybe leave a like, a comment, maybe even subscribe. I don't know. Whatever makes you happy. Or don't. If you've been having trouble, you can get help, and all you have to do is reach out to somebody. And if you don't have anyone to reach out to, you can always call 988 if you live in the United States of America. And that is the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And they're 24/7 on. They do English and Spanish, I believe. And I'm sure that they probably can accommodate a lot of other languages because there are so many people helping. And it's a great thing. They will connect you with people in your local area, and they will get you the help that you need. So don't give up. Keep working at it. It sucks, but it can get better.